Okay, now role of hormone in the menstrual cycle. We know that what happened in the menstrual cycle. In menstrual cycle, there are certain cyclical changes happens in the ovaries as well as in the uterus. So what are responsible for those changes? The hormones are responsible for those changes. What are the name of those hormones? Follicle stimulating hormone, estrogen, LH or luteinizing hormone, and estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so what is the function of follicle stimulating hormone? At first we should know about that which gland is responsible for its secretion. The pituitary gland will secrete follicle stimulating hormone, and what is the function of this follicle stimulating hormone is to mature the primary follicle. Please go to through the first video, which is on menstrual cycle, so that you should come to know about what are primary follicles, what are Graafian follicles. Okay, so what is the function of this follicle stimulating hormone is to mature the primary follicle to Graafian follicle. Okay. Okay, now and always remember it, whenever there is high concentration of any hormone in the bloodstream, then it will stimulate the secretion of next hormone and it will stop the secretion of the previous hormone. Just remember it. Okay, so when the concentration of follicle stimulating hormone will increase in the bloodstream, then what happen? It will stimulate the ovaries to secrete what? Estrogen in the bloodstream. So ovary is also a gland. Okay, so ovary will secrete a hormone named as estrogen. Now what is the function of this estrogen? It causes repair of uterine lining. We know that there are certain events which happen in the uterus as well during the menstrual cycle. What are those events? Continuous shedding and repair of the uterine lining. At first there will be a shedding, menstruation, it happens in the menstrual cycle, and then the repair and then the maintenance of uterine lining will happen in the menstrual cycle. So how it happens? It happens because of the estrogen. So the estrogen is involved in the, what is the role of estrogen? The role of estrogen is to repair the uterine lining. This repair, it happens because of the estrogen. And over here there is FSH. FSH is secreted in this period. There is no involvement of FSH with menstruation. The role of FSH is to mature the primary follicle to Graafian follicle. It has nothing to do with menstruation, but in this period the FSH hormones level will increase. Okay, now and then in the estrogen level will increase after the FSH level. When the concentration of FSH will increase in the bloodstream, then it will stimulate ovary to secrete what? Which name? What is the name of that hormone? Estrogen. And what is the function of this estrogen? The function of this estrogen is to repair the uterine lining. Clear? Now again, high level of estrogen in the bloodstream will inhibit the secretion of FSH. जैसे मैंने अभी आपको पहले भी बताया था कि हमेशा जब भी किसी हार्मोन की कॉन्सेंट्रेशन, एक हार्मोन की कॉन्सेंट्रेशन इंक्रीज होगी तो इट विल suppress the concentration of the previous hormone and it will stimulate the secretion of another hormone. Clear? So it will inhibit pituitary gland to secrete FSH and stimulate pituitary gland to secrete what? LH. Okay, so the next hormone is LH. So the what was the first hormone? FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone. And what was the role of that follicle stimulating hormone? Is to mature the primary follicle to Graafian follicle. Okay, and a high concentration of FSH in the bloodstream will stimulate the ovary to secrete what? Estrogen. And what is the function of estrogen? We know that there are certain events which are going side by side in the uterus as well. I'm going to draw the uterus over here. this is not uterus, but this is a cycle. Okay, so because of the this is uterine lining, the uterine lining will break down. This is called onset of menstruation, and after menstruation there should be the repair of uterine lining. Why there should be the repair of uterine lining? Please watch my first video. Okay, so related to a menstrual cycle. Okay, so in this period when the repair of uterine lining it happens, there is a role of estrogen. Now, high level of estrogen in the bloodstream will inhibit what? FSH. FSH को inhibit कर देगा and stimulate ovary, pituitary gland to secrete what? Luteinizing hormone. Fine. Now, what is the function of luteinizing hormone? It causes ovulation. Now, remember, when the Graafian follicle it forms because of FSH, then the Graafian follicle it ruptures and it releases egg outside the ovary. This is called ovulation. So what is the role of LH? LH it causes ovulation. Now how it causes ovulation? Because it ruptures the Graafian follicle and releases egg. This is how the ovulation it happens, and it always happens on the 14th day from the onset of menstruation. Clear? Now, and we know that immediately after the release of egg from the ovary, this Graafian follicle will turn into corpus luteum. So, LH has two roles. Number one, it causes ovulation, and number two, it causes formation of corpus luteum. Clear? So, LH has two roles. Now, what would be the role of luteinizing hormone? High concentration of luteinizing hormone in the bloodstream will inhibit what? Estrogen. Clear? वो किसको inhibit कर देगा? Estrogen को inhibit कर देगा. Now, what is the role of corpus luteum? Corpus luteum will secrete. What is the role of this corpus luteum which is present in the ovary? It secretes estrogen and more progesterone. Estrogen will secrete again, and there will be more progesterone secretion. Clear? Now, what is the role of this? Corpus luteum is now a gland, fine, which is present inside the ovary. Okay, so estrogen and progesterone. What is the role of estrogen and progesterone? It maintains the thickness of uterine lining. Over here, after ovulation, there begins the role of estrogen. It maintains the thickness of uterine lining. So over here we will write down estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so what is the role of estrogen and progesterone? It maintains the thickness of uterine lining, and again, high concentration of estrogen and progesterone in the bloodstream will inhibit what? LH. Now remember these points of inhibition. Okay, it will come later. Now let's fill this cycle with the hormone. So at first, let me erase it first. Okay. During menstruation, FSH has nothing to do with menstruation, but FSH matured the primary follicle to Graafian follicle, but it releases during this day. Okay, primary to Graafian follicle. This is the role of FSH. So 1 to 5th day of the menstrual cycle, there will be FSH, and after that, from 6th to 12th days, which hormone will secrete? Estrogen. Now, what is the role of estrogen? Of course, when the uterine lining will shed off, then there should be the repair of uterine lining. Okay, so the repair of uterine lining will happen because of the estrogen. Now, why the uterine lining is rebuilding? So that it can implant the embryo. Okay, so for the implantation of the embryo, there should be a release of egg first from the ovary. So on the 14th day from the onset of menstruation, there should be ovulation. Ovulation means release of egg from the ovary. Okay, and then after that there should be maintenance, and this ovulation, it happens because of LH. So LH will secrete on day 13th. Okay, and after that from day 15th till day 28th or 27th, there will be high concentration of estrogen and progesterone in the bloodstream. Clear? So at first FSH will secrete, then estrogen, and then LH, and then estrogen and progesterone. Now just to remember it, which hormone secrete what? Pituitary gland secretes both the abbreviated forms of the hormone FSH and LH. Ovary secretes both the full form estrogen and progesterone are secreted by ovary, because corpus luteum is also present in the ovary. Okay, so therefore ovary, it secretes progesterone. Or just to remember it in sequence, how we are going to remember it: at first abbreviated form is secreted FSH, then full form estrogen, then abbreviated form LH, then full form estrogen and progesterone. And in between LH and estrogen and progesterone, corpus luteum is present, as corpus luteum is not a hormone. Okay, it is a body which secretes estrogen and progesterone, mainly progesterone, but estrogen will also secrete. Is this clear? Now move on to this diagram, this graph. It comes in your paper. At first what happened, just leave it, I'm drawing it. Days of menstrual cycle. And hormonal level. And draw it with me so that you can understand it clearly. Okay, just write down 14th, because on the 14th there will be menstruation. Okay, so initially which hormone will secrete? FSH. FSH will secrete, and then it get constant. Okay, and when the concentration of FSH will increase in the bloodstream, then which hormone will be stimulated? Estrogen. Initially estrogen level was normal, and then when the concentration of FSH will increase, then the estrogen level will increase sharply, and then it falls. It increases sharply, and then it falls. Fine. And then the third hormone, which is luteinizing hormone. Initially its concentration was constant, but when the concentration of estrogen increases in the bloodstream, and then the corpus luteum will rupture the graphene follicle and releases what? Luteinizing hormone. So its concentration will increase sharply, sharp increase, and then the sharp decrease. It will indicate what? Luteinizing hormone. So the hormone whose concentration will increase sharply and then there will be sharp decline, that hormone will be luteinizing hormone. Okay, and just before day 14 there will be sharp rise and then the sharp decline in its concentration. That would be luteinizing hormone, and then eventually finally progesterone's level concentration will increases after day after day 14th. Okay, and estrogen level concentration also increases after day 14. So hormone which is having two peaks are labeled as estrogen. The blue line will indicate estrogen whose concentration is higher in the beginning, in the first 5 days. That one is FSH. That the hormone whose concentration increases sharply and then there is a sharp decline. This one is LH, luteinizing hormone. And then the hormone which is shown with dotted line whose concentration increases only after day 14th is called progesterone. Clear? So these are the role of hormones in the